Pregnant at 19, she lived in a mud house until she cared for an injured child, the son of a millionaire. Subscribe for more romance stories like the video and tell me where you're watching from. Rain hammered against the thin walls like an unwelcome guest. Ava Taylor watched water drip through the ceiling into a rusted bucket, the rhythmic plinking a constant reminder that everything was temporary, held together by hope and duct tape. She was 27, but felt ancient. The mud house on Millbrook's outskirts wasn't much. 4 walls of compressed earth, a tin roof that sang in the wind, floors that turned to dust in summer and mud in winter. But it was hers and Lily's. "Mama, the rain sounds like music!" 6-year-old Lily pressed her face against the small window, breath fogging the glass. "It does, baby, like a lullaby." Ava forced brightness into her voice. Lily didn't need to know they were down to $20 until Friday, or that the landlord wanted to raise the rent. Ava had been 19 when Lily arrived, abandoned by a boy who'd promised forever and vanished. Her strict parents had shown her the door. "You made your bed," her mother had said, cold as January. "Now lie in it." So she had. She'd worked 3 jobs while pregnant, saved every penny, found this mud house through a bulletin board ad. Mrs. Chen, the elderly owner, had taken pity. $200 a month. Keep the garden. That garden had saved them countless times. Lily had been raised on vegetables and stories, second-hand clothes and first-hand love. After pancakes for dinner, Ava tucked Lily into her lavender room, the only beautiful space in the house. Aluminum stars hung from the ceiling, catching whatever light slipped through. "Tell me about the future, Mama." Ava smoothed her daughter's dark hair. "Someday we'll have a house with a real roof. You'll have your own bathroom. I'll have a garden twice as big and maybe a porch swing for watching fireflies. Will you be happy, Mama?" The question pierced her. "I'm happy now, sweet girl, because I have you." It wasn't a lie. Happiness came in small spaces, Lily's laughter, a good day at work, tomatoes ripening. But there was hollowness too, a place that echoed with abandoned dreams, college, travel, real love. Tomorrow meant early shift at the diner, afternoon cleaning houses, evening at Romano's. Sleep was a forgotten luxury. Morning came violently with the alarm. Ava dressed in darkness, jeans, white shirt, her only decent sneakers. She left a note for Lily, who Mrs. Chen would wake and walk to school. The bus stop was 15 minutes away. Ava didn't mind. Early morning was hers alone, smelling of rain and red clay, a mockingbird practicing its songs. She almost didn't see the boy. He lay at Old Mill Road's edge, hidden by tall grass, only his red jacket visible. Ava's heart lurched as she ran toward him. "Hey, can you hear me?" She knelt, hands hovering, afraid to touch, afraid not to. He was young, maybe 8, dark hair, matted with blood from a forehead gash. His eyes flickered open, startling blue, unfocused and afraid. My dad. The car," he whispered. "Where?" Ava looked around wildly. Empty road, morning mist, nothing else. "Down. There." His hand pointed toward the embankment. Without thinking, Ava dialed 911. Then she carefully gathered him into her arms, checking for brakes. Finding none, she held him close. "It's okay. You're going to be okay. I've got you." The boy pressed his face against her shoulder and cried. Ava held tighter, this stranger's child, feeling something shift inside her chest. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Noah. Noah Anderson." Sirens wailed closer. Paramedics arrived, pried Noah gently from her arms. "Did you see what happened? Are you family?" "No, I just found him. He said his father, a car down there." They loaded Noah into the ambulance. He reached for her once more, blue eyes finding hers. "Thank you." Then they were gone, and Ava stood alone with blood on her shirt, and her bus departed. She'd be late, probably lose the shift. But somehow none of that mattered. Something had happened beyond helping. She'd felt it holding that boy, a connection, a purpose, a sense her story was about to intersect with someone else's in unpredictable ways. She started walking toward town, toward apologies and the life that was hers. But with each step, she felt it. The universe shifting, possibility rearranging. Behind her, crews worked to extract a man from a crumpled Mercedes, a man whose son she'd cradled, whose life was about to change as much as hers. She didn't know that yet. She only knew the morning had turned strange. Her shirt would never be the same. And somewhere in Millbrook Memorial, a boy named Noah was asking for the woman who'd held him when he was scared. The woman who lived in a mud house and survived on hope. Mason Anderson woke to antiseptic and beeping machines. His head felt split open, which, the doctor said, wasn't far from truth. "Mr. Anderson, you're extremely fortunate. Concussion, 3 broken ribs, lacerated spleen. But you're alive, and so is your son." The doctor checked his vitals. "Noah's asking for you, and for someone named Ava." Noah. Mason tried sitting up, immediately regretted it. "My son. Fine. Minor concussion, cuts and bruises. Thanks to the woman who found him." The doctor made notes. "She stayed until the ambulance arrived. He won't stop talking about her." Memories came jagged. Early morning drive to Atlanta. Black ice. The sickening moment the Mercedes left the road. Noah's scream. "Nothing until now. I need to see him. Soon. Your assistant's been called. She's handling everything." Of course Victoria was. Building an empire left little time for being human, being a father. Mason closed his eyes, but couldn't sleep. Instead, he saw Noah's face at breakfast, sullen, distant, barely speaking. They'd been fighting more, his 8-year-old pushing back against nannies, tutors, the structured life Mason built around his own absence. "I want Mom," Noah had cried yesterday. "Why can't I have Mom back? Because the dead don't return, because your mother chose pills over us, because life is cruel." What he'd said was, "Eat your breakfast, we're leaving in 10. Father of the year material, clearly. Victoria swept in, phone to her ear. "Yes, reschedule everything through Friday." She ended the call. "Mason, thank God. The entire board is panicking. How's Noah?" "Asking for you, and for some woman named Ava who rescued him like a guardian angel." Victoria's eyebrow rose. "I've tracked her down. Ava Taylor, 27, single mother, 3 jobs, lives in—" She paused, nose wrinkling. "A mud house." "A what?" "Compressed earth. Very rustic." Victoria's tone suggested rustic was unacceptable. She found Noah walking to catch a bus to Millie's diner. Missed her shift. Mason's mind calculated. Compensate her lost wages. Send flowers. Already done. I also offered $10,000 as thanks for saving Noah's life. She refused it. She what? Refused, said, "I didn't help your son for money," then hung up on me. Victoria looked genuinely puzzled. "No one's ever hung up on me." Despite everything, Mason felt something foreign. Amusement, maybe. "I want to meet her." "Mason, you need rest." "Victoria, I'm not asking." She sighed, recognizing the tone that built Anderson Industries. "I'll arrange it, but first, see Noah." They brought Noah in a wheelchair. Mason's heart seized, his son pale and bandaged, looking smaller than 8. "Dad!" Noah scrambled onto the bed, careful of injuries but desperate to be close. "I thought you were dead." "Hey, I'm okay. We're both okay." Mason wrapped his arms around his son, ignoring screaming ribs. This mattered more. "You were so brave. I was scared. But Ava came, and she held me, and said everything would be okay." Noah's eyes, Sarah's eyes, shone with hope. "She has a daughter named Lily. They live in a house with a singing roof. Can we meet her? Please." Mason looked at his son, really looked, and saw what he'd been missing. Noah needed more than security and privilege. He needed someone who knew how to show up, hold on, make everything okay when it wasn't. Someone like Ava Taylor. "Yes, we'll meet her." 3 days later, Victoria arranged the meeting at Mason's estate. Sprawling, soulless, perfect for a man who'd forgotten how to feel. "She's here," Victoria announced distastefully. "I tried offering coffee in the south parlor, but she's in the kitchen talking to Mrs. Perez about herb gardens." Of course she was. Mason headed to the kitchen. He smelled her first. Not perfume, but sunshine and soil. Then she turned, and Mason Anderson, who'd negotiated with cutthroat investors without flinching, felt the ground shift. She wasn't polished beautiful. She was real. Dark hair in a simple ponytail, amber eyes that had seen too much too young, wearing struggles like badges of honor, jeans, faded blue sweater, dirt under her fingernails. "Mr. Anderson." Her handshake was firm, confident. "I'm glad you're okay. Noah talked about you non-stop." Her voice was soft, Georgia honey. Mason held her hand longer than necessary. "I wanted to thank you for saving my son. Victoria said you refused. I didn't do it for money, Mr. Anderson. I did it because a child needed help." Something flashed in those amber eyes, assessment that found him wanting. "I'm just glad he's okay. Please call me Mason." He gestured to the kitchen table. "Will you sit?" She sat uncomfortably. Mason asked about that morning, and she told the story simply, without drama. "Noah wants to see you again," Mason said when she finished. "Talks about you constantly, about Lily, your daughter, the singing roof." A smile transformed her face, cracking something open in Mason's chest. "The roof does sing, drives me crazy in storms, but Lily loves it. I'd like to invite you both to dinner. Here, as thanks." The smile faded. "That's kind, but not necessary. I'm not comfortable in places like this." "Neither am I," he said, surprised by the truth. "I bought it because it was big and empty and I could disappear, because after my wife died I couldn't bear anywhere that reminded me of her. I'm very good at acquiring things and very bad at knowing what to do with them." Ava's eyes widened at his honesty. "I'm sorry about your wife. Don't be. Everyone is, and it doesn't help." Mason ran a hand through his hair, wincing. "Look, I'm not good at this, but Noah needs to see you again, and maybe I need to understand how someone who has every reason to be bitter can still show up for a stranger's child at 6 in the morning. She studied him. "I show up because someone has to, because Lily's watching, because the world breaks us all eventually, and the only way to survive is holding each other up when we can't stand alone." Those words landed in his chest like stones in water, rippling outward. "Is that from something?" "No, that's just from living." She stood. "I'll come to dinner. For Noah, but not here. Somewhere normal. Somewhere Lily won't feel like she stepped onto another planet. Romano's, best Italian in town." "Friday night?" Ava laughed, light breaking through clouds. "I work at Romano's, Mr. Anderson, Friday nights." "Mason, and perfect, you already know the menu. I'll rent the whole place." "That's ridiculous. I'm a ridiculous man." He smiled, strange on his face. "Please." She shook her head, smiling too. "Fine, but I'm bringing Lily, and if she wants spaghetti with butter instead of fancy pasta, that's what she's getting." "Deal." As Victoria escorted her out, Mason realized something terrifying and wonderful. He wanted to see Ava Taylor again, not from obligation, but because she made him feel something he thought died with Sarah, the possibility that life might surprise you, that broken people could find their way back to whole. Romano's had never closed on a Friday night, until tonight. Ava stood outside, Lily's hand tight in hers, staring at darkened windows with growing unease. Maybe this was a mistake. "But Mama, Noah's inside." Lily pressed her nose against the glass, waving frantically. Noah waved back, excitement bright on his face. Beside him stood Mason, looking both at ease and uncomfortable in dark jeans and casual button-down, probably his most normal outfit. The door opened. "You came." "I said I would." Ava smoothed her simple green thrift store dress nervously. Lily wore her Sunday best, pink with white flowers. They might be poor, but they had pride. "Ava?" Noah rushed forward, then stopped shyly. "Thank you for coming. Hi yourself." Ava knelt to his level. "How's that head?" "All better. Dad says I have a hard head." Noah grinned at Lily. "You must be Lily. Your mom told me about you. You fell down a mountain." "Just a hill, really. Come on. Dad got us the whole place." The children ran ahead, already fast friends. Mason offered his arm, surprisingly old-fashioned, making Ava's heart flutter in ways she didn't appreciate. The restaurant was transformed. Candles flickered, soft music played, kitchen smells intoxicating, but it was still Romano's. where Ava had served hundreds of meals, knew every crack in the linoleum. "This is strange," she admitted as Mason pulled out her chair, "being served where I usually serve. Then tell me if they get it right." Mason settled carefully, broken ribs still healing. "I asked them to prepare their specialties. It's more than okay. It's a lot. I'm beginning to think that's my default setting." Mason's smile was self-deprecating. "Sarah used to say I didn't know how to do anything halfway." First time he'd mentioned his late wife, naturally. Ava treaded carefully. What was she like? Brilliant, funny, complicated. She struggled with depression, though I didn't fully understand then. I thought love could fix anything, that if I just worked harder, made more money. He trailed off. "And turns out you can't buy your way out of mental illness." "I'm sorry." Ava knew about struggle, darkness that could swallow people. "How long has it been?" 2 years. Car accident officially, but she'd been drinking, pills in her system. Mason's jaw tightened. Police called it an accident, but I knew. She'd been saying goodbye for months, and I was too blind to see it. Ava reached across the table, covering his hand with hers. He startled, then relaxed. "You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Trust me, I've tried. Your daughter's father, among others." Ava withdrew her hand, self-conscious. "I've always been drawn to broken things. Thought I could fix them with enough love. Took getting pregnant and abandoned at 19 to realize some people don't want fixing." Mason studied her with those sharp blue eyes. "But you didn't go down." "No, I had Lily to think about." She smiled at her daughter chatting with Noah. "Even when the water's over your head, when you're so tired you can't remember rest, you keep swimming. Because what else can you do? You could have given up. I've thought about it. There were nights when rain came through and Lily was crying, and I had 47 cents, and I thought, this is where I break." Ava's voice stayed steady, but morning would come and Lily would wake up smiling, asking what adventure we'd have. Giving up wasn't actually an option. The food arrived, antipasti, pasta, chicken marsala, magnificent and excessive. "Mama, look, spaghetti!" Lily's eyes were wide. "Let's say grace first, baby." Ava reached for Lily's hand, hesitating at Mason. "Unless you don't—" "We do," Noah piped up. "Grandma Anderson says we always should, even though Dad forgets." Mason looked embarrassed. "My mother is very devout. I'm less so. But please go ahead." They joined hands, Ava, Lily, Noah, Mason, and Ava said a simple prayer. When she opened her eyes, Mason was watching her with an unreadable expression. Dinner flowed naturally after that. The children became fast friends over school stories and favorite books. Noah described Ashford Academy's privilege. Lily talked about Millbrook Elementary learning to read. "I could teach you," Noah offered. "I'm really good at reading." "I'm smart too," Lily said. "Mrs. Jenkins says I'm good at math." "That's excellent." Mason leaned forward, genuine interest shining. "Math is the language of the universe." The conversation mixed adults and children in a way that felt less like formal dinner and more like family. The thought startled Ava so much she nearly dropped her fork. "You okay?" Mason asked quietly. "Fine, just this is nice, different than I expected." "Different how?" "I thought you'd be more stiff, formal. Rich people usually are." Mason laughed, real laughter transforming his face from handsome to devastating. "I can be all those things, trust me. But this," he gestured around, "this feels more real than anything has in a long time." "Real can be scary," Ava observed. "Terrifying," Mason agreed. "But maybe the things that scare us are the things we need most." Before Ava could respond, Lily tugged her sleeve. "Mama, Noah invited me to his house. Can we go, please?" Ava's instinct was to refuse. The gulf between their worlds was too vast. But she saw Noah's hope, Mason's careful neutrality hiding his own hope, and remembered her words. "The only way to survive is holding each other up." "Maybe," she said slowly, "if it's okay with Mason, and if it's during the day, and if Mrs. Perez makes those cookies." "Done, done, and absolutely done." Mason's smile was radiant. "Tomorrow, I don't have to go into the office. I have work Take the day off. I'll pay you whatever you would have made. Ava bristled. I don't need your money. I know you don't. Mason's voice was gentle but firm. But I need you to take the day off. Noah needs it. And maybe I need it too. That vulnerability undid her. Okay, but I'm bringing lunch. You don't have to. I want to. There's a difference. Mason's eyes crinkled, genuinely happy. When was the last time she'd made someone happy just by existing? As Ava bundled Lily into her worn jacket, Mason appeared with his keys. Let me drive you home. That's not necessary. Ava, please. It's late. It's cold, and my son will never forgive me if I let you take the bus. Pride demanded refusal, but Lily was yawning, and sometimes accepting help was its own form of strength. Mason's Mercedes pulled up to the mud house, and Ava watched his face carefully. Most people couldn't hide their shock, their pity, their judgment, but Mason just smiled softly. The singing roof, he said. I can see why Lily loves it. Something in Ava's chest loosened. It's not much. It's home. That's everything. He helped Lily out of the car. See you tomorrow, around 10. We'll be there. That night, Ava lay awake, listening to rain ping against the bucket. Mason Anderson had seen her life, the mud walls, the threadbare furniture, the garden that fed them, and he hadn't flinched. He'd seen her, really seen her, and still wanted her there tomorrow. It was terrifying. The next morning, Ava packed lunch with trembling hands. Sandwiches, homemade cookies, fruit from the garden. Simple food, but made with care. She dressed Lily in her second-best dress, braided her hair carefully. Are we going to Noah's castle, Mama? It's a house, baby. Just a big house. But when they arrived, Ava understood Lily's description. The estate was magnificent, rolling lawns, gardens that could swallow their mud house 10 times over. Mrs. Perez greeted them warmly, but it was Noah's squeal of delight that eased Ava's nerves. You came! Come see my room, I have a telescope! The children raced off, leaving Ava alone with Mason in the enormous foyer. They're already inseparable, Mason observed, smiling. Lily's never had many friends. We move around a lot, and kids at school. Ava trailed off. They knew she was poor. Children could be cruel about such things. Noah's never had real friends either, just children of business associates, arranged play dates. Mason gestured toward the garden. Walk with me? They strolled through meticulously maintained paths, past roses and hydrangeas Ava could only dream of growing, but instead of envy, she felt sadness. It was beautiful but sterile, like everything had been designed rather than loved into existence. You don't like it, Mason said, reading her expression. It's beautiful, but it feels lonely, like a photograph of a garden rather than a real one. Mason stopped, studying the perfect hedges. Sarah designed it. Spent a fortune on landscape architects. After she died, I kept it exactly as she wanted. I thought, he paused, I thought if I preserved everything perfectly, maybe some part of her would stay too. Did it work? No. It just feels like a museum, a monument to failure. Mason turned to Ava. Do you know what I realized when I saw your garden yesterday? It's alive. Messy and imperfect and absolutely alive. Like you actually use it instead of just looking at it. I have to use it. We'd starve otherwise. Ava laughed, but there was no bitterness in it. But yes, I love my garden. Every tomato, every bean. I know which plants need extra water, which ones attract butterflies, which soil patch is too shady. It's not beautiful, but it's mine. Teach me, Mason said suddenly. What? Teach me about gardens. About making things live instead of just preserving them. His blue eyes were earnest. I want Noah to have what Lily has. Not things, but connection, purpose. The knowledge that something grows because he cared for it. Ava's heart stumbled. This man, with all his wealth and power, was asking her to teach him something. I don't know if I can teach that. It's just showing up every day, paying attention, caring even when it's hard. Like raising a child. Exactly like raising a child. They walked in comfortable silence until laughter drew them toward Noah's room. The children had built a fort from blankets, the telescope forgotten in favor of imagination. Mama, we're astronauts, Lily called out. Come see our spaceship. Ava and Mason crawled into the fort, the four of them squeezed into the small space, and something magical happened. The walls between their worlds, wealth and poverty, privilege and struggle, dissolved. They were just four people playing pretend, laughing, being present. Mason caught Ava's eye in the dim fort light, and the look he gave her made her breath catch. It wasn't pity or charity. It was wonder, like she was showing him something he'd forgotten existed. Later, over the lunch Ava had brought, Mrs. Perez joined them in the kitchen. The housekeeper praised Ava's cookies, and soon they were swapping recipes, talking about herbs and seasons, and the best way to can tomatoes. Mason watched, quiet but attentive, and Noah peppered Lily with questions about her school and her life. "Do you have your own room?" Noah asked innocently. "No, I sleep with Mama, but it's nice because when it rains I can hear the roof singing, and Mama tells me stories." "I have my own room, but it's too big. Sometimes I get scared." Noah looked at his father. "Can Lily and her mom stay here sometimes, in one of the guest rooms?" The question hung in the air. Ava started to refuse, but Mason spoke first. "If they want to, absolutely." His eyes met Ava's. "You're always welcome here, both of you." "We couldn't," Ava began. "Why not?" Mason's voice was gentle. "Noah's happy. I haven't seen him this happy since Sarah died. And he paused. "I'm happy too. Happier than I've been in 2 years. Doesn't that count for something?" It counted for everything, and that was the problem. Ava could feel herself falling, not into love, not yet, but into something equally dangerous. Hope. The belief that maybe, just maybe, life could be different, that someone might actually stay. "Let's take it slow," she said carefully, "for the children's sake." Mason nodded, understanding what she wasn't saying. They both had scars. They both had reasons to be careful. But the children had already decided, already woven their lives together, with the ease of young hearts that hadn't learned to fear connection. As the afternoon wore on, Ava found herself relaxing into the space, into the rhythm of conversation and laughter. Mason told stories about disastrous business meetings that had Noah giggling. Ava shared tales from the diner that made Mason laugh, real, genuine laughter that transformed his entire face. When it was time to leave, Noah hugged Lily fiercely. "See you soon." "Soon," Lily promised. Mason drove them home again, and this time when they pulled up to the mud house, he said, "I meant what I said, about being welcome, not just for visits, but—" He struggled for words. "I'm not good at this, at connecting, at being vulnerable. Sarah used to say I built walls so high, no one could climb them. But with you, Ava, the walls don't seem necessary. They seem exhausting." Ava understood completely. She'd built her own walls, brick by painful brick. But around Mason, she felt them crumbling, and it was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. "Slow," she reminded herself. "Slow," he agreed, but not stopped. That night, as Ava tucked Lily into bed, her daughter asked, "Mama, do you like Noah's daddy?" Ava thought about honesty, about the example she wanted to set. "Yes, baby, I do." "Good, because I think he likes you too. And Noah says his daddy hasn't smiled in forever, but he smiled today, a lot." After Lily fell asleep, Ava sat by the window, watching stars appear above the mud house. Mason Anderson was unexpected, a complication she hadn't planned for, hadn't thought possible. But maybe the best things in life were the ones you didn't plan for. Maybe healing didn't come from avoiding pain, but from being brave enough to risk it again. For the first time in 8 years, Ava Taylor let herself imagine a future that included more than survival. She let herself imagine joy. 3 months passed like a dream Ava was afraid to wake from. Mason became part of their lives in quiet, unexpected ways. He fixed the leaking roof, not by replacing the mud house, but by carefully patching it so it still sang, but didn't flood. He showed up at the diner for coffee, leaving tips that Ava pretended not to notice were 3 times the bill. He brought Noah to play with Lily every weekend, and the 4 of them became a constellation, separate but connected, orbiting each other with increasing gravity. But the walls were still there. on both sides. Everything changed one October evening. Ava was closing at Romano's when Mason appeared alone, his face drawn. "Is Noah okay?" Panic seized her. "He's fine. He's with Mrs. Perez." Mason ran a hand through his hair. "Ava, I need to tell you something. The board wants me to relocate to New York, head office. It's a promotion, a huge opportunity." The words hit like ice water. "When?" "January. 3 months." He looked miserable. "I told them no." "Mason, I told them no because of you. Because for the first time since Sarah died, I feel alive. Because Noah is happy, genuinely happy. And it's because of Lily and you. Because the thought of leaving makes me feel like I'm drowning." Ava's heart raced. "You can't turn down a promotion because of me. We haven't. I know we've been taking it slow. I know you have every reason not to trust this, not to trust me. But Ava, I'm in love with you." The words tumbled out, raw and honest. "I've been in love with you since you crawled into that blanket fort and played astronauts with our kids. Since you taught me that gardens are meant to be lived in, not just looked at. Since you showed me that showing up is sometimes the bravest thing you can do." Ava felt tears streaming down her face. "I can't be the reason you give up your career. What if this doesn't work? What if I disappoint you? What if it does work?" Mason stepped closer. "What if we're brave enough to try? What if the thing we're both most afraid of is exactly what we need?" "I'm terrified," Ava whispered. "So am I. Sarah's death taught me that love doesn't guarantee happiness, that sometimes people leave even when you beg them to stay. But you've taught me something more important, that love isn't about guarantees. It's about choosing each other every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." Ava thought about her journey, 19 and pregnant, abandoned and alone, building a life from mud and hope. She'd survived because she'd learned to be strong, to need no one. But maybe true strength wasn't about not needing anyone. Maybe it was about being brave enough to need someone and trust them to stay. "I love you too," she said, and the words felt like freedom. "I've been so scared to say it, scared to hope. But I do. I love you, Mason Anderson." He kissed her then, gentle and sure, and Ava felt every wall she'd built crumble to dust. This was what she'd been missing. Not security or money or someone to save her, but partnership. Two broken people choosing to heal together. "Come with me," Mason said against her lips, "to New York, you and Lily. Marry me. Build a life with me. Not because I'm rescuing you, but because we're choosing each other." "Mason, I can't just leave. I have jobs, responsibilities. You have 3 jobs that barely pay the bills, and a landlord about to raise your rent." I checked. He smiled sheepishly. "I also talked to Mrs. Chen. She'd like to sell the property, and she'll give you first option to buy if you want to keep it." Ava laughed through tears. "You're ridiculous." "I'm in love. There's a difference." Mason grew serious. "I'm not asking you to give up who you are. I'm asking you to let me be part of it. Your garden, your strength, your incredible heart. I don't want to change any of it. I just want to be there, building something beautiful with you." "What about Noah and Lily? What about them? They've been planning our wedding since week 2. Noah has diagrams." Mason pulled out his phone, showed her actual diagrams. Childish drawings of the 4 of them holding hands, living in a house with a garden and a singing roof. Ava's heart melted. A singing roof? They've thought of everything, including a room for Mrs. Chen if she wants to come visit. Mason took her hands. "Ava Taylor, I know this is fast. I know we've only known each other 3 months, but I've lived enough life to know that some things are just right. You're just right. For me, for Noah, for the life I want to build. So I'm asking, will you marry me? Will you take a chance on us?" Every logical part of Ava screamed caution, but her heart, that wild, hopeful thing she'd tried so hard to protect, knew the answer. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes, I'll marry you." Mason lifted her off her feet, spinning her around Romano's empty restaurant, both of them laughing and crying. When he set her down, Ava felt different, lighter, like she'd been carrying a weight she didn't realize was there. "I have one condition," she said. "Anything. The New York house gets a garden, a real one, messy and imperfect, that we build together, with vegetables and herbs and places for the kids to play. Deal. Anything else? Ava thought about the mud house, about Mrs. Chen, about the garden that had fed them through the hardest years. We keep the mud house, fix it up maybe, but keep it, for people who need it the way I needed it. A place for someone to catch their breath and remember they're not alone. Mason's eyes shone. You're remarkable, you know that. I'm just someone who remembers what it's like to need help. Ava smiled. And who learned that accepting help doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. They married in December, a small ceremony in Mrs. Chen's garden, the mud house garden that had sustained Ava through the hardest years. Noah stood as best man, Lily as maid of honor, both children beaming. Mrs. Perez cried. Even Victoria admitted it was surprisingly lovely. Mrs. Chen blessed them in Mandarin, then English. Love is not finding someone to live with, it's finding someone you can't live without. As Ava and Mason exchanged vows, promises to show up, to hold on, to build a life from broken pieces, she realized something profound. She hadn't needed rescuing. She'd needed a partner. Someone who saw her strength and honored it, who brought his own broken pieces and trusted her to help make them whole. In January, they moved to New York. The house Mason bought had a huge backyard, and that spring they planted a garden together, all four of them, hands in the dirt, building something living and beautiful. The vegetables were messy, the herbs went wild, and it was absolutely perfect. The mud house became a sanctuary, managed by a local non-profit for single mothers who needed a safe place to land. Ava funded it through a foundation she started, the Lily Taylor Foundation, named for the daughter who'd given her reason to keep fighting. Noah and Lily grew up as siblings, attending the same schools, sharing secrets and dreams. Mason learned to leave work at work, to be present, to understand that true wealth was measured in moments, not money. And Ava learned that letting people in didn't make you vulnerable, it made you whole. 5 years later, standing in their New York garden at sunset, watching Mason play with Noah and Lily while their newest addition, baby James, napped in her arms, Ava marveled at the journey. From a mud house to a mansion, from surviving to thriving, from broken to beautifully whole. "What are you thinking?" Mason asked, wrapping his arm around her. "I'm thinking about that morning I found Noah, how it changed everything, for both of us." Mason kissed her temple. "You saved my son that day. But you saved me too." "We saved each other," Ava corrected. "That's what love does. It doesn't rescue. It reveals. It shows us who we really are and gives us courage to become who we're meant to be." As the sun set over their imperfect, beautiful garden, Ava understood the deepest truth of all. Redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about letting the past shape you into someone stronger, braver, more capable of love. She'd been pregnant at 19, lived in a mud house, struggled and survived. And all of it, every painful moment, had led her here, to love, to family, to home. The rain still sang on certain roofs, but now it sounded like music, a reminder of where they'd been and how far they'd come. Together. The end.